What's up, everybody? This is James John Kirby, and I thought I'd bring you a new topic, one on the subject of graveyard dirt. How did I become introduced to graveyard dirt? Well, I came across it on the internet, actually, and and after I stumbled upon it on the internet, I wanted to do a little bit more research on it. And as I was doing it, I found out that there are a lot of things you can do with graveyard dirt. It's kind of like a herb or a spice unto itself, but it's done in ritualistic magic. Um, I found out about using graveyard dirt is when I started receiving omens and signs from a deceased friend of mine. And I would come across this person's grave or picture in places that I wasn't expecting to see uh, him. Um, he had passed away like many years ago. So the really weird thing is, it's like all of a sudden his pictures would just pop up out of nowhere, you know? And I'm just thinking like, okay, this is a sign. This guy's been dead for a long time. So, and it always seemed like it was like a warning or something. And so I looked into graveyard dirt, and I found out that graveyard dirt is used in a lot of places, and I felt like I should go ahead and probably collect some, and that's what I did, because I felt that every time this he would his image would show up or his name would show up, that that was a sign that maybe I shouldn't be in that situation or be around that person or anything to that extent. It was like kind of like a protection sign. He was a lot like that in real life. And so it just seemed like it spilled over into the supernatural realm. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about graveyard dirt. The purposes of graveyard dirt. Graveyard dirt is soil that has been procured from a grave site of a specific individual in which a psychic uses the soil to facilitate in black magic. Graveyard dirt is used in many different cultures for ritualistic magic purposes, specifically for the dark arts, in which it was used in ancient Egypt, Africa, the Caribbean, Asia, and the United States. Its sole purpose is for necromancy and hexing. Graveyard dirt was used by enslaved Africans who used it to trick or cause harm to their slave owners. And they would do this by sprinkling it around certain places in their house, or in their beds, or near their footpaths. Graveyard dirt is used in Southeast Asia, black magic, in order to construct a sculpture of an unborn child called a kumatong. A kumatong used to be, there's a story about that, in which an unborn child was taken from its mother and used for black magic. But now, since that practice is outlawed, they use graveyard dirt to sculpt with, to create a kumatong, which is like an unborn child, but in the likes of it. In most cases, the graveyard dirt is taken from a person who the psychic knew personally in their life. In other cases, graveyard dirt can be taken from murder victims, accident victims, soldiers, policemen, family members, and friends. Graveyard dirt is used to cause unnatural illness, to enemies and or death, protection spells, deceiving enemies, love spells. Graveyard dirt should only be procured when the deceased have given the permission and they want to intervene from the supernatural realm in assisting the living with problematic concerns. Procuring graveyard dirt. Once the ancestors and deceased have given you the permission to procure graveyard dirt, you must collect it at 3 points on the grave. If you choose the head, or the heart, or the feet. If a psychic gets repeated signs and omens from the deceased, then the psychic is responsible for procuring the graveyard dirt. The reason is that the deceased have decided that a supernatural intervention is necessary in your life. And so procuring graveyard dirt is required. After collecting graveyard dirt, the psychic must leave some type of offering to the deceased. Leaving offerings is a necessary and mandatory step because the deceased are providing you with the service of protection and or love. This includes either or money, such as dimes and pennies, alcohol or tobacco, vices that were used by the deceased when they were alive, food or flowers. Using graveyard dirt. I have 2 forms of a single graveyard dirt from a single person, and this being my friend. That communicates with me, I would say, pretty regularly from the other side. This is a coarser grain, and this is a sifted finer grain from the coarser grain. Now, what I had to do when I got the graveyard dirt is that I sifted it, or once I got it, I blessed it, and then on my altar, and then I sifted it. And I sifted it between a finer grain and a coarser grain. Now this is from my own personal use. What I do with the finer grain is that I use incense and capnomancy as the purpose for the finer grain, in which I communicate with the dead and through necromancy by using the finer grain to put in my incense. So when I'm burning a charcoal incense, I would put the graveyard dirt, the finer grain on that, say if I wanted to communicate with my friend. As for the coarser grain, I use that in protection and binding spells. And that happens when my friend magically appears or there's a sign or omen. And so if I'm around a situation or a certain type of person, then and he shows up, then I use the coarser grain as a form of protection. And after, what I do is, now I'm not going to show you the incense ritual, because it's just burning it like regular incense. But with this, I will show you how I do use the coarser grain. Uh, Graveyard dirt. So as you can see, it's a lot coarser. I don't know if you can see that, but it's pretty coarse. It's like gravel. That is the finer grain. After I divided the coarse between the fine grain, then I'm ready to do my ritual. What I need to do is I need to inscribe the person's name on a piece of paper. And I need to find, say, if this is a hair, or if I have a picture, or whatever, anything that signifies the person. I would put that into the paper with their name. I would fold it up, and I would bind it with string. I would take an empty jar like this, and I would fill it with some of the graveyard dirt. And then I would put that person inside the jar, and I would lock it, and then I would do a hex or a curse or a protection spell against that person in hopes that this, my deceased friend, would resolve and take care of the issues concerning this person. So basically, my deceased friend who has appeared around me has decided that he would like to take on this situation. And so I would use this method. And in doing so, I would wait and try to be very patient and monitor the situation over time. Because I feel that sitting in there as a graveyard dirt, you know, time and space is a lot different when you're in the supernatural realm. And this form of communication just brings the situation closer, and who can battle the situation more carefully, more meticulously, and better than I could, should trouble ever arise. So say now the situation is resolved. What do I do with this jar full of graveyard dirt? Well, this is my personal decision of as to what I would do. I would open the jar, take out the name of the person and whatever pieces, photo, whatever you have. Burn it all. Just burn it. Make sure it's gonna burn. Ooh. Then I would dump this back in the jar when it was reduced to ashes. And after it was reduced to ashes, I would take the jar with this, and I would take it to the nearest body of water with the ashes inside, and I would dump everything into the water, and then I would say, something in the terms of releasing, or bid thee well, or I'm done, or we have resolved the issue. Anything to that, a sacred thank you, goodbye, and I hope we can continue communicating this way, with the dead. So after that's done, then I feel that everything is resolved, everything is done, the deed is done, the protection is over, whatever results happen, and now it's time to release, and then that's what I do. If you are experiencing such signs, omens, and phenomenon that are associated with a deceased individual, then you should consider practicing a craft that is aligned with necromancy. The internet provides a lot of type of spells and ways of using graveyard dirt. It's very versatile, and you can use it in a lot of practices. But if you don't feel comfortable, say you're not, you're getting a lot of signs, but you're just not feeling the graveyard dirt yet, then consider calling from the deceased an opportunity to develop your psychic awareness, or better yet, seek out an experienced psychic who can help you with using graveyard dirt. I wouldn't say that it's something that's done for the novice, but it is something to consider if you are experiencing such omens, signs, and phenomenon, like I said, similar to me when it comes to the deceased. It's probably something that you need to go ahead and acknowledge and begin practicing. But if you feel uncertain, then you need to kind of be guided by someone, but also feel compelled instinctively as to how you can do it yourself. Don't let anyone tell you, don't use graveyard dirt. That's just wrong, because, their experiences are different from yours. And even if they are a psychic and they say that, then I feel that they are not very good at being a psychic, because they wouldn't know what to do with graveyard dirt. Because it's like using an herb or a spice, but using it in magic. If you want to use it for love, you can use it for love, but make sure you collect it from the heart of the grave. If you want to use it for other purposes like protection, then maybe at the foot, or a binding spell for death, but the versatility of graveyard dirt varies. So, like I said, don't let anyone determine what you should or should not do, because your calling is different from everybody else's, and how you follow that path is different. Graveyard dirt being something that is part of American culture in the United States, It's been used since its founding. So it has a steeped history in American culture. So I recommend using graveyard dirt if you have had similar experiences as me. If you like my videos and you want to see more, hit like and subscribe. You can find me at Facebook and Instagram at JYK1130077. You can also find me at Twitter at James Young Cody. Thank you for watching.